Hello everyone, just welcome to this blog that I have started to create for reviewing craft beers. I'm going to each particular episode focus on a particular brewer and obviously review any beers that I may have to hand from that particular brewer. Just a little introduction before we head into the review in regards to craft beer in general, because some of you may not be fully aware of how craft beer, or what craft beer is essentially. Not to be confused with cask ales, what you normally associate with old men, real ales, etc. It's a little bit different than that. They tend to be carbonated craft beers, also tend to be made by smaller brewers, although recently, due to the popularity of craft beer, a lot of the bigger brewers have been latching on to the craft beer scene and maybe bottling and packaging things to an extent where you might think it's got the appearance of being brewed by a small brewer. However, that's not the case. Quite a few examples of that we can cover in another episode. You don't need to really be put off by craft beer. I know obviously we're a nation of lager lovers, etc. However, if you're a fan of lager, there's definitely craft beers out there for you. I think these two examples here, which I have today, which we'll move on to shortly, definitely suit the lager lover. Obviously there is a higher depth of flavour to craft beer, and it is an acquired taste to a certain extent, but I think everyone should really give it a try at some stage. Support obviously smaller breweries also. These are actually foreign breweries today. It's a Danish brewer, but obviously we'll go into that later on. First things first, in regards to a craft beer, obviously you might not think a glass is very important. However, what I would suggest is one of these. It's a chalice glass, especially for bottles, the 330ml bottles that you may pick up. It's the best for getting the smell, the aroma, and also the taste. Also, I'll show you when I pour these how to achieve a head on the beers. One other thing I would like to say before we go ahead and taste these is, obviously if you're not interested in craft beer, you may as well switch off now. If you're watching just to have a bit of a laugh, take the piss, that's fine, but obviously this is something I'm quite passionate about, so anyway, we'll leave it there at that. So we'll go on to this, which is our featured brewer for this episode, and I'm not too sure on the pronunciation. It looks like Tool, T-O, but then there's a space, I know with a cross through it and then an L, so that's the Scandinavian. This is a Danish brewer, Tool maybe, Tool or Toel, I'm not 100% sure. Maybe that's something that you could look into. As I say, it's a Danish brewer. They do a wide range of craft beers, two of which I've got today. First of all, there is My Pils, not to be confused with Gary's or anything like that. It's actually obviously based on a German Pilsner, not Pils in general. Don't want to get into trouble there. And this next one is Hunderlufter Bayer. I think that's how you pronounce it. Nice picture of a doggy on the bottle. What you will find with these craft beers in general, the labelling, etc., the design does tend to be very interesting, and also adds to the experience of the beer. So, first of all, I'm going to start off with the My Pils. Just reading on the label, it's a quaffable session Pilsner. It's got Munich malts in it, Mosaic Amarillo and Tettinanger hops. It's actually bottle conditioned. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but there's a fair amount of sediment in the bottom of the bottle. Nothing to be worried about. It just means it's unpasteurised. It's pure. It's not been messed about with. It's not highly manufactured. Obviously, with a bottle conditioned beer, you just have to be careful exactly how you pour the beer, because you don't want the sediment in your glass. So I'll just pour a little bit of this. Best way is to pour a craft beer, to tilt the glass like so, around about 45 degrees, and then bring it round to the correct angle so you develop a head. As you can see, this one's very light indeed, almost, well, like a lager in colour. Again, like I say, with this particular one, and with it being bottle conditioned, you really have to be careful when you pour it, just to make sure you don't get that sediment. Not that the sediment in the glass is going to affect the flavour of the beer. It's just the texture that you'll get on your tongue is not very desirable. So I'm just going to have a little smell first of all. Just give it a swill and smell it. I can get a lot of citrus from that. Very citrusy. Floral, in fact. Let me just have a little taste. That's very, very citrusy. Now obviously with it being labelled as a Pils, as you would expect, there is a kind of German lager consistency to it. However, with the trio of hops in there, you do get an extremely citrus flavour to that. It's very nice, in fact. Imagine that on a nice hot summer's day with a barbecue food, something like that. Very, very nice indeed. I'm going to have to drink it all now so I can open the other one, put it in, so just give me one sec. I'd highly recommend that actually. That's really nice. Very refreshing. Very refreshing indeed. So that's Tool, and it's called My Pils. Again, not to be confused with Gary's or anything like that. It's not going to get you off your barn. It's to that effect. Maybe, what percentage is it? 4%. So, you know, you'd have to have, well, personally I'd have to have about 10 of them to get pissed. Well, there we go. It's not all about getting pissed, guys, as you know. So we're opening this one now, which is the Hunderlufter Bayer. Hunderlufter Bayer. It's got a picture of a dog on. That roughly translated into Danish means dog walker. So the dog walker beer. Strange one. This is 5%. This one's more of a IPA style beer, I'd like to say. Doesn't look like it's got any sediment in the bottom. Not that you can see, but if you hold it up to the light, that's always a good indication. It is quite cloudy. Well, there's no real sediment in the bottom of that one. Let's see what we've got in this. We've got mosaic hops, several other things which must be Danish, which I'm not going to attempt to pronounce. It's all about the taste really anyway, so let's pour this one in. Nice head retention there. Very big head retention. Actually, this is a lot lighter than I thought it would be. As you can see, it's darker than the previous one. However, I would have expected this one to be a little bit darker than it is. Very cloudy, as you can see. But again, like I say, don't let that put you off, because cloudiness or sediment in bottles or anything, that's not an indication of a bad thing. That's something that's probably makes it pure. It's gonna be additional to the flavour itself. So give this one a little smell as well. Look at the head retention on that. That is very, very foamy at the top. Again, very citrusy. You really get the whoosh of the hops. Tropical fruits from this one. Very nice indeed. Now let's give it a little taste. Oh, that's really nice.